Time, beautiful people, rise and shine. It is time to get up. Look, guys, oh my goodness. This morning. Spring forward. Oh, spring forward. I don't know. But my guest this morning, she's going to bless us. I'm getting all of this equipment stuff ready. And if you can do me a favor, someone, I'm telling you guys, it's going. This is going to be really, really good. And so normally this would have been an hour back, but now I know there are some people who are a little grumpy this morning. Oh no, because I thought, I was like, oh my goodness, it's 5:30. No, it's not 5:30. Well, this morning I'm joined with Miss Latricia Johnson. Miss Johnson, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Thank you. Interesting day to take an interview when time changed, and you prepared yourself appropriately, I see.
I hope I did.
Well, I'm so excited about this talk. I'm about all God doing. Sunday mornings, we have a very unique group of people who are just, they're faith centered and they're interested in practical truth with faith backing, with the understanding that, you know what, as we're moving through life in our attempt to live life effectively, we need God's back. Started this, what I call faith edition, Sunday morning, including God in all of the journey. He said, what, I see that you work. And so I said, I want Miss Johnson to come on and share about what you got going on. Could you do me a favor and tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Latricia Johnson, and I am, I am a wife, a mom. I am a teacher, called minister, which I've been doing this for many, many years, and I am now an aspiring author. I do teach high school. I've been doing that for a good number of years. And so I just have I just have many hats that I wear.
Well, you're doing it very well, and so, man, I appreciate you and your family, and so over the years I've watched you guys, and you just continue to set an incredible example. You wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about this book, and you're not an inspiring author anymore. You're an author doing it. You're doing it. So tell us about your
Doing
book.
it. Yes, my book is titled Maturing the Seed, and it is a call to action. It is written for those that are raising children. I don't want to just say that it's written for parents, because it can be a parent, but it is written for those that are raising children, teens, young adults. And what my book is based on is solving a problem, along with adding my examples, life strategies, life stories within the book. And my goal is to push the 3 strategies that God has given me many years ago that I still operate in my life today.
You know, it's amazing how life principles work. That someone said years ago, they're principles, they're laws, they don't move. You have kids, you be like, okay, my first son, I could start applying this with them, but it won't apply to that. No, the principles don't move. And it is so amazing that if we would just understand that life is a series of principles. If we apply all of those principles, we get more positive results from all of them. You know, the Bible talks also about train up a child in the way they should go.
Yeah.
Is that a common belief still accepted by the majority of people? Where I'm not hearing train up a child anymore as we've heard in times past. What's going on with that scripture? Is it still relevant? Now, I know my position, but I'd love to hear your position and what you think is happening in society when we think about the term train up a child.
What I see, Pastor Ricardo, and what I witness is that some still gravitate to those principles, those that become our foundation, and then you have some that do not. You have some that train up a child in the way that they feel that they should go instead of in the way that they should go.
Yeah, well, the challenge with that is, when you try to move off from God's way, it really does bring you back to finding out that it is not going to be the return that you desire if you allow it to become your way and not the way. I agree. I believe that so much. How important is it to have a strategy? Your book talks about a strategy. How important is it? Let's dive into that. We have mothers listening, fathers watching us. We have people of all ages from around the world will be watching us. How important is it to have a strategy in raising up young people and raising children? I talk about effective living, and a lot of people, they're in pursuit of trying to get their best life, when the truth is you need a strategy to help your kids to get their best life as well. What's your view on a strategy for parenting?
Absolutely. I believe that we need to have a strategy, first of all, because we need to be detailed. Well, we are detailed people. We were made very intricate, and we serve a detailed God. And so having a strategy, it is imperative to doing anything in life. It applies to everything that pertains to us. But I focus in the book on children. Having a strategy for raising children, I believe, is imperative because, take for example, many times when we are targeted, when we are supposed to be focused or centered on something, we are not really using it as a bullseye. We are not actually targeting what we want to accomplish. And so having a strategy is dealing with everything that pertains to whatever is going on, whatever the detail is of what is going on at that particular time, whatever is pertinent to whatever the issue is, to target that, to gather all of your resources and from what God has said, and to use his resources for your issue.
Your issues. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking with Latricia Johnson this morning. She's written a great book, and this is for parents desired to see their children grab a hold of the principle, help to life more for them. When we talk about strategy, Latricia, there's much going on in the world today. There's so much going on in the world today. Kids today are not like kids in times past.
No.
What's your view of all of the changes? There's no more going outside and playing in the backyard or down the street. There's very little. Let me go over to Johnny's house, to Mike's house, to Fred's house. There's very little of going around to other houses. Teenagers aren't hanging out. A lot of them actually are hanging out more with. What's your view of all of the changes? And there's some actually was built in and helping them to become. And now what we're seeing doesn't look like it's as strong as it was in times past. What's your view on that?
Right. Pastor Ricardo, first of all, my view on that is that we have implemented our own, we've implemented our own details. We've implemented our own version of what we think that it should look like. The biggest part that I see is that the foundation has shifted. The things that we used to build our foundation when we came up, because we came up in a different era. We have shifted from the foundational principle of how we were raised, and along with that, we have scaled back on the village that was used to raise children. So not only are we shifted from the foundation, and not only have we scaled back our village, because now we pick and choose who we want in our village, if you even have a village. because it does still take a village to raise children. It doesn't matter if we are related to the child, but
Yep.
are we implementing values into that child that would help the parent along the way, whether we are in their presence or not in their presence? So,
Let's
yeah.
go ahead. I like that, because I was going to ask you. Let's talk a little bit more about that village. I love the fact that it does take a village to raise a child. I think it's important to be intentional now more than ever to ensure that you have a village. People have moved away from it a little bit, though. I think people have not embraced the idea that it is going to take a village. I think more now than ever that you're going to need it. Why do you think that if you agree that people are moving away from the whole term "it takes a village," then why do you think they're moving away from it, and so forth?
Well, Pastor Ricardo, from my upbringing, the village had everything to do with training and correction. And now you don't see a lot of parents or a lot of people that are raising whoever you're raising. Um, you want to be more protective than anything versus correcting.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with protecting. We are first and foremost the protector of those who we raise, of those who
Yeah.
we put in charge of to bring up.
Yeah.
But uh, it's all a part of trusting others to speak into that child's life, to pour into that child's life, to know that not only do I have their best interests at heart, but I believe that others will have their best interests at heart also. And as long as they're telling them right, as
Yeah.
long as they're telling them the truth, then I don't have a problem with that, because sometimes raising children can be overwhelming and you can just be at your wits end. But it is a comfort to know that you have other people in your corner that are going to help you with raising that child.
Back in the day, the challenge was, boy, listen, you did something wrong and somebody saw you did something wrong, you're going to get called out. And today, a lot of people allow you to do what you do, and have nothing to say about that. And I mean, I think that's hurting us. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, you were going in and out. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the village before used to help us when the behavior of a child, not everybody saw it in the child. There will people, if you're wrong at school, in the neighborhood, what child is picking up. So internet is crazy, Miss Johnson.
Yes, because I'm like, Lord.
Listen, go ahead out and come back and tell us a little bit more about your book, and I'll slip out and you delete. I'll be right back. Okay? So talk to us about your book, and I'll be right back in.
Okay. I began writing when we were all sent home last spring for the pandemic. And I remember stating while I was sitting at my computer, because glued to the computer last spring, oh, okay, Lord, do it all this time. And I immediately heard the Lord spoke to my heart. Now it's time to write. And I had no problem with that. I didn't know how I was going to start writing. For me, I just thought that I was just going to jot down some things. And I realized very quickly that I was not organized. And I am an organized, detailed person. And so I didn't know what step to take next. However, I was on my social media one day and I saw, and I don't think it was by accident, I began to see the advertisements that my writing coach she was putting out on Facebook. And I knew I had seen her before, but I had not sat down to listen to what she had to offer. And so once I began to listen to what she had to offer, I knew that this was something that I needed to work with. I am working with a person. I knew that I was working with a person who was very was very methodical in her approach to writing. And in her writing program, she just laid it all out from A to Z. It was very simple. It was very easy. And from that program, I was able to implement my work. I was able to write the manuscript, follow all of the details in which she laid out in the program. And so from there, I am about to print the book. So, and if you are wondering about that writing program, you go to search Jazz Omac. She is a writing coach, and she deals with those of the corporate as well as individuals who desire to write their book by solving a problem. Okay. I can't hear you.
Okay, Miss Johnson, how about that?
Oh, that's better. That's better. Because I was like, I can't hear you.
Oh man, oh man.
Weather over it's kind of raining outside, so I think it could be the connection over here.
Yes. Well, we're going to make this thing happen. Thank you very much for sharing that. So you got a writing coach. The process of putting this book together, you decided, you know what? I'm gonna make it happen. The pandemic has occurred. I have time on my hand. What made you think about going with the idea of parenting? I mean, I believe I have a clue, but tell our viewing audience.
Okay. I knew that I was supposed to write. I've always known that. That's something that God had told me years ago. And I just kind of on the shelf. You know how we do when God tells us something.
Yeah.
And then when we don't have the adequate time or the tools in which we believe we don't have, we just kind of make excuses. But I remember that it was told to me very clearly. Now you don't have any excuses. Now you have plenty of time to write. And my my goal of focusing on children is how the direction the Holy Spirit led me as far as to writing the book. And it comes with many years of experience with the three children that we have.
Yes. Wow, congratulations on that. I'm glad you committed to writing the book. It's definitely going to be one of those tools that parents ought to just grab a hold of and say, you know what, I'm going to work it. I'm going to work it. Now, when you were writing the book, what were, in your opinion, 3 principles? Let's talk about those that I just had to drop this in, couldn't write this book without putting these in there that I passed on to my kids. I would pass on to any other child or other parents raising kids. What would be those principles that really stood out to you that you had to plug into the book?
Along with the 3 strategies that I put in the book, the 3 things that we have instilled in our children over the years, and we still do today, is first find your place. It's the 3 F's. First, you have to find your place in God. And I've always prayed for my children, even when they were toddlers, that they would always be found worshiping in the house of God. And I the time, and it's very funny how we can do things knowing it, and then later the Holy Spirit will reveal to you. Funny how I didn't say praise instead of worship, and God had to show me that worship is intimate relationship. So I've always been praying that they would find their place in God, and that is through the avenues of worship and just being at the feet of Jesus. And then second, we've always taught them to walk in their faith, to walk it out. Whatever it is that they're facing, whatever it is that they're going through, walk out their faith. And with that, you have to have God's word and to know what it says in order to mix your faith with his word so that you can see the desired manifest what you're petitioning him about. And then third is to forgive, to receive God's forgiveness for whatever they've done on their path in life that wasn't pleasing. the Father, that wasn't up to standard, that wasn't the choices that He had for them. Find forgiveness, receive that forgiveness, pick yourself up, get up, and go on.
Let's break those down. Those are so good. Let's dive into that for a few minutes. That finding your place. I mean, the world is busy. I mean, what an incredible message. If you're a parent that's watching us this morning, it is important that you grab a hold of, you know what, I need to help my child find his place, her place. And so what do you believe is some of the critical subjects or conversation that has to happen to helping kids to know, hey, 8.5 billion people are on the planet. In the midst of it, you need to know who you are. You need to know how you show up. You need to know, in your case, you need to know you're a Johnson. Okay, that's not what you
think. Yes. The first thing I would say about that, Pastor Ricardo, is identity. It deals with identity, because you have so many, and it's not just teens, young children, it's young adults. Everyone is seeking for who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't know their identity. And so they take on identities that the world tells them that it's okay to be this, it's okay to be that, or it could be family that pushes them to take on their own identity, what Christ has already deemed you to be. And so I see it daily that students, kids, young adults, they're groping, they're wrestling with their identity. Because they're trying to find out who they are without going to the manual, or without having someone tell you who you were created for. And so that's where the struggle comes in, because when we don't have the truth that is going to build our foundation, that's going to be able to have something steady to stand on, then we'll believe anything, and we will start operating as the world says, that it's okay to be whoever you are. It's okay to have those things. It's okay to go to the left side when you're supposed to be on the right.
Yep. You know, I think identity is such a strong message, man. And thank you for adding that in the book, because I know in raising kids today, there is a lot of unsureness, if I can use that term, going on among parents as to how and where and what I should do in helping this child or helping my children to become who they are destined to be. Your second point, let's dive into that for a minute.
Walking in your faith. So that is so important. That is so important. The word tells us that God has dealt to every man the measure of faith, not a measure. So that means that Jalen, Jeremy, and Ashlyn didn't just get a measure like I got. We all got the same measure. And so it's up to you as an individual to walk out your faith. You don't have to walk it out like mom. You don't have to walk it out like dad, but you are expected by the Father to walk it out every day.
Listen, walking it out. Once you discover the truth, you got to now live the truth you've discovered. And helping kids to get that. You know, growing up in, a lot of our kids, they grow up in kids' church, grow up in youth ministry, grow up in church in general. They have that word. They know the word. Now maturing, you know, the seed, bringing them into that rightful state, saying, hey, you got to walk this thing out now. This is not only to know, this is to live.
Wow.
You know, this is where you lean on the word. You lean on the word. Talk to our viewing parents right now about the importance of them leaning on the word when it comes to instructing their kids, so that they can see the connection on how the word relates to life.
Yes. Now, we as parents, we know how we lean on the word. We know how we trust in God about whatever situation we're dealing with. But the trust comes in for us as parents is, we don't know exactly at the right time or when they're going to lean on what you put into them. Because how my pastor says it, that's God's business. That's between them and God. It's like God had to show me many years ago, Pastor Ricardo, that I don't get to choose the date or the time, and I can't circle it on the calendar, we're going to totally surrender to Him,
Yeah.
because nobody gave you a deadline. Nobody gave you a specific time frame. And so trusting in God is what we desire for our children to do, not just to put their trust in us as parents. They can come to us for help,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
ultimate goal is for them to know that they can go to the Father themselves, and that they can exercise those principles and promises that we have trained them up in and what we have instilled in them, and they get the same result as parent.
They can get the same result. What? That's really good. That'll allow our kids to really be able to establish that faith for themselves after a while. Hey, walking it out, parents, walking it out, adults, it is an important part of the process. It's not good enough just to know. You have to decide that I'm going to apply what I know. And your last one that you focus on, let's give that some attention.
Finding forgiveness, receiving the forgiveness of God. Because let's be clear, we know that they are going to make mistakes, because we made mistakes and we're still making mistakes. None of us
Yeah.
are perfect. We are all learning, and we are all striving to be more like Christ. But when our children make those mistakes, and when they fall into those ditches, and sometimes they are hard falls, as
Yeah.
parents, what we can do is gently restore to their rightful place. And when I say restore them back, I mean sitting down, having conversations with them, showing them your wounds, showing them your scars, and
Yep.
which is something that we've always done with our children, and just walking them through steps of restoration to get back into right standing with the Father, to know that they too are forgiven when they make mistakes.
Well, and it is really a part of life. Your book is entitled Maturing the Seed. Why the title?
The title. That's just the vein in which the Lord led me, maturing the seed. And although we have adults now,
Yep.
we no longer have small children.
Yep.
What my husband and I have had to learn is that our parenting, we had to shift seats. And so we're still parenting. We're not
Yep.
parenting small children or teens anymore. We're parenting
Yep.
adults.
Adults.
Because
Yep.
our role will never change. We will always be the parent. But as
Yes.
they continue to grow and grow, their role has changed.
Yes, I totally agree. I wrote a little while back in my book, a growing child needs a growing parent, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job at that. Listen,
Yeah.
tell our viewing audience how they can get your book, and what's going to be the process. I know you need to, with all of the stuff lifting now, eventually you're going to do a book signing, anything like that. Tell us about what you have coming up.
We're hopefully that will be the case.
Yep.
We're just still kind of waiting around to see. We don't want to jump too far ahead. But as of right now, you can find my book, or you can pre-order my book at www.latriciajohnson.com. And you can also, we're working this week to be able to get it on Amazon so that you can purchase it also.
Nice, nice. Congratulations on that. Before we leave, challenge those parents that are watching. They have a responsibility to walk with their children through the various seasons of life. It's clear that maturing the seed requires one to be close enough to identify the necessary engagement that is going to be required to helping that seed to become what it's needing to be. Just remind parents it is possible. Remind them that, they've been given the responsibility, embrace the village. What would be your closing thoughts to our viewing audience about their role in maturing the seed?
Yes, as parents, it is a serious role. It is sometimes a role, but it is also a rewarding role.
Did you freeze or did I freeze? Well, ladies and gentlemen, We're having a little technical difficulties this morning, but I'm joined with Miss Latricia Johnson, and we're talking about her new book. I want you to be prepared to pre-order her book. This is good stuff because, as she mentioned, it takes a village to raise a child. And I believe that if you would embrace the fact that, someone is assigned to help me, and there are principles, if applied, will help me to win if I would just engage myself with those principles. And so this morning, go forward and decide that I'm going to excel in all that I put my hands to. I'm not going to allow anything to stop me from becoming the person that I was destined to be. I'm going to raise my child well, for those of you that are raising children. So I wanted Latricia to come on and be my guest this morning and help us to understand, I took on the challenge to do what I believe I needed to do in this season, and that is to write a book that's going to help parents to win when it comes to raising their kids well. And so, listen, technical difficulties, the weather's changing, time's changing. How are you guys doing this morning? Miss Johnson is back. Boom, boom, boom. All right. It's one of those mornings, Miss Johnson.
It's one of those mornings.
It's one of those mornings, but that's okay. Listen, once again, thank you for joining me this morning. I'm appreciative of the fact that you dedicated yourself to this during a pandemic, understanding that, listen, I have time on my hand. I've always known that I wanted to write a book. I'm going to use this time wisely, and I'm going to invest in producing something that's going to help generations. Yes. Your kids will not only be the ones to be able to look, and let's see what mom said, but they'll be able to pass it on to their children's children.
Yes,
and that's a tremendous blessing. As we get ready to head out this morning, you were cutting out. What's your closing thoughts again, because you were going in and out?
Yes, thank you, Pastor Ricardo, for. And I just wanted to quickly wrap up to say that raising children can be daunting. It can be challenging, but it's lastly rewarding. And I encourage all parents to, whatever your child is going through, whatever your teen, your young adult is going through, I encourage you, find out what the details are, assess the problem. The second thing is to go to God's word, those promises that God has already said about their situation, and then speak it over their problem, speak it into their life, over their life, and speak it into the atmosphere, and watch the situation change within time.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Watch the situation change within time. Present it to God, do the work, understand that, listen, He did not set you up to fail. You were created to win.
Yeah.
2021 is our year for winning in every area, and we believe that parenting is a part of that. For those of you that have children, understand that a growing child needs a growing parent. As Miss Latricia Johnson just mentioned, the different stages of parenting changes. They're now continuing to influence and raise and nurture and love adult children. Okay, and those kids are still showing up with their own unique needs from their parents. And so we as parents have to remember, our job really never is done. It changes. It just changes. Thank you again, Miss Latricia Johnson. So grateful. Hey, listen, I'm going to make sure that we push this book, because there are so many parents. It's one of those things you don't get a manual with when you bring these kids into the world.
Right. It's trial and error.
It is trial and error. And so whenever someone like yourself take the time to put principles in a book, I think it's so important for parents to be able to say, you know what? I want to be able to grab a hold of as much nuggets and much principles as possible to help me to raise my kids. And that's a form of helping to construct your village. It'll all come alive once you get the right information. As the good book teaches us, the Bible, it says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Well, here's the deal. Someone has discovered some truth that has been working for them, and she's written it in her book. Prepare yourself to get a copy of that book. Once again, thank you, Miss Johnson. Have a phenomenal day. Enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you.